Now, in the last few hours, France has announced it is withdrawing its troops from Mali, where they have been fighting a jihadi insurgency for 10 years. A statement issued jointly with European allies and Canada said that multiple obstructions by Mali's ruling military junta were making it impossible to operate there. It also said, though, that the allies would continue joint action against terrorism in the Sahel region and would seek to expand the scope of their operations to include Niger and the Gulf of Guinea. The joint statement comes ahead of an EU-Africa summit in Brussels. This is how the French President Emmanuel Macron explained the decision to pull troops out of Mali.
We cannot stay engaged militarily side by side with the de facto authorities with whom we do not share strategy nor objectives. That's the situation we're dealing with in Mali today. The fight against terrorism cannot justify everything and must not, by using a pretext of being the ultimate priority, turn into an exercise of indefinitely maintaining power. It also cannot justify an escalation in violence by using mercenaries whose violent acts are documented in the Central African Republic and whose use of force is not in line with any rules nor convention.
Well, here's our correspondent in Paris, Hugh Schofield.
And what you heard there, just that clip of Macron, is interesting because it draws a link, of course, what you were talking about earlier with Ukraine. There's a Russia connection in all of this, which is key. There's the presence in Mali now of 800 or 900 or 1,000 mercenaries from the Wagner group linked to Moscow. That is a central point behind the decision to pull out. And there's been a complete breakdown of relations between Paris and the Malian military government. The military government came to power in a coup 18 months or so ago, and then there was a kind of second coup within the coup more recently. There's been no commitment that suffices for French eyes, or indeed of the African Union, to announce a transition to democracy. So that's one part of the reason why France no longer wants to cooperate with the Malian authorities. But the other more general point is that the Malian authorities are now turning quite openly to outside forces, this Russian mercenary unit, Wagner group, to help it. And these conditions are not acceptable for the French, who arrived in Mali 10 years ago in order to prop up the government then against an Islamist insurrection. It's been there ever since. But now it says that its presence in Mali can no longer be sustained. So it's having to rethink completely its presence and that of its European allies, because there are many European countries who form part of the overall effort against Islamism there, rethink it and reposition those forces. And what's just been announced is that the forces that are in Mali, and that's about 2,400 French troops, will be moved to Niger, neighboring on the east side, near the border with Mali. But the pullout is going to go ahead. It's going to be a very, very big operation, of course, because pulling out armies from countries is itself a very dangerous operation and leaves them very exposed.